Welcome to the Talk Football podcast. I'm your host, Hodgie, and with me I have Mr. Adam James.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the pod. And those of you who have tuned in before will obviously know Adam from previous episodes.
Yes, the Derby County episodes
Yeah.
from previous times.
That's it.
And the dog's on me back now.
And the dog, we've got a special guest. This is Lexi. Lexi is guesting on the pod as well. She's going to lick Adam's face.
Get off, you. Get off.
This is the season 2 finale, guys. So, and episode 8 of season 2, and this is going to be the last episode in this current season. So that is it. And today we are going to be talking about predominantly Derby and the takeovers, but we're going to cover the Chelsea takeover as well. So we're going to kick straight off with the Derby takeover. So I'm going to have a little chat with Ad about that. And obviously Derby have a new owner finally.
Yes, thank goodness for that. A local businessman called David Clowes. He's a property developer that lives in Derby. And his value is about 300 million with all his assets, which I am glad. I'm very, very glad. I did not want our club to go straight under, because at the end of the day, it's a massive club and nobody knows this. The history behind that club was from 1884. It's huge.
And that's the thing. I think, and then obviously in the statement that he made, he said that it was no way that he could allow the club to go under. Yeah. Obviously being local, and I think that's massive anyway. Having an owner that's actually local to the club, has the club's best interest in hearts. I think that's massive. And I'll tell you what, already, they've made a number of signings, and we're going to come on to that and talk about the signings as well. But obviously, shortly after the takeover, the process of the takeover, actually, for those that don't know, it was a bit difficult because the previous owner, Mel Morris, and his subsidiary company, they own the stadium. So this is what was holding up the bids from the likes of Kirshner. It turned out he didn't have the money in the first place anyway.
No, waste of space.
And then obviously, Mike Ashley was reportedly interested and had tried to talk with the administrators, and that really didn't go well. For whatever reason, the administrators didn't seem keen to get involved with Ashley. And we all know, obviously, Ashley had the money because he sold Newcastle for 300 million. So I don't think there was ever an issue with funding. So I'm not quite sure why that never really got off the ground. But nevertheless, they've got a new owner. It's a local owner. And I suppose probably maybe only one sad downside to it was losing Rooney in the process.
Yeah, I think he'd had enough with the situation of the club and the way that it was being dealt with by the administrators. I think he was just frustrated. But what the thing is Rooney's agent was putting money into the staff wages to pay it, to keep the club going. I can't fault him for leaving, to be fair, because I'd be the same. If I was in a club like that, and the administrators aren't supporting him in that way, and they wasn't telling him anything.
Yeah, the thing is, like I say, I mean that 18 months really, really, really took a toll on him in particular. Like I say, putting his own hand in his pocket to keep things going with certain staff and the younger players at the club that weren't getting their money. So you can see it took towards the end of the season, I think you could see that it was taking a pretty big emotional toll on Rooney himself. So I suppose you can't blame him for.
Well, no, he had other stuff as well going on in his own life. He had this court case with Rebecca Vardy.
The Vardy case,
and I think he just had enough.
Yeah, but obviously Liam Rosenior has stuck around.
Yeah,
he's in charge on an interim basis, but I've got a feeling that that will probably end up being a full-time appointment.
I think it'll be permanent. At the end of the day, the way that team played on Saturday, as we went to the friendly. The Derby friendly against Leicester, and the way they played Leicester's team wasn't a walkover, to be fair.
No, they had
was fantastic.
A fair few sort of first team players there. Tillmans was playing, Castagna, there was quite a few. They didn't, they had a few young players and a few sort of like players on the edge of the starting 11, and because they were playing 2 games, so Leicester was obviously playing a friendly at Derby, and then the rest of the squad was playing at Preston. So, but there was enough players there that if I was to equate it to anything, I would say it was would have been similar to as if you'd played a Carling Cup game. Yeah. So if like Derby was playing a Carling Cup game, or Carabao Cup as it's now called, against a Premier League team, it's the kind of lineup you probably would have expected Premier League team
Yeah,
to
it's
field
like
against.
a rotated squad.
Yeah, but it was good quality.
You had your likes of Iniacho, Daka.
Iniacho and Daka were playing up front.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't.
It was a good test, and in the first half, I thought Derby was really good. I think they moved the ball well, and you had Smith and Hurahan, which is 2 new signings, and we'll talk about them in a sec. I thought they controlled the midfield really well. Really experienced back four, which you could tell, and obviously because it's pre-season, I think they tired towards the end of the game for sure, and obviously the subs and whatnot, it did have an effect on the overall result. But I think lots and lots of positives going forward.
You could tell that they'd worked on it in training. The way they played, the passes they were playing,
it's very very organised.
It was madness, and for a League One team,
for a bunch of players, really as well, that had actually only been together for only a few weeks, because you obviously look
11 signings.
Well, this is
it.
Whole 11 signings, and we're going to name them in a sec. But if you think that reporting back from pre-seasons, they only had 5, full-time professionals on the books at the club, and so. And you've got to give credit to the new ownership for being able to actually get a team together.
And he spent nothing.
Spent
absolutely nothing.
Do you know what? And this is, for me, that's a great sign, because they've not come in, not made stupid promises, not said we're going to go out and do this and do that. Because realistically, it's League One. You've got to be careful with your budgets anyway.
He's got experience.
But they've gone out and got real experience, proper professionals, and they've sold their idea and their project to these professionals. And you're not talking about players that are over the hill either. So, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, it's like Hurricane. He said he wants to go there. That club should not be in League One.
Yeah,
so he wants to get that club where it belongs.
So obviously getting Hurahan from Aston Villa.
Yeah,
which is, I think, it's a class signing. He's only 32, and I think obviously his quality.
The problem with him though, he was turning down Championship clubs.
Yeah, and he
could have easily gone to.
He's bought into the idea of getting Derby back to where it is. I think that's a cracking signing. Same with Mendes Lang. I think he's a very, very good wide player, and I think he'll bring a lot to the team. There's a couple that I don't know that much about. Adam might know a bit more about them. So we got this guy here,
Tom Barkhausen. He played for Preston North End last season. A very good player and very versatile on the ball.
Yeah.
And where he played on Saturday on that wing, I don't think we've got no issues.
And they've signed a very, very experienced striker in McGoldrick.
David McGoldrick,
and I think even at what's he, 34?
34, but I think he's a known goal scorer.
Yeah, at that level,
that's what we need.
At that level, I think he's going to be great. Yeah. And at the back, to partner Curtis Davis, James Chester.
Oh,
and yet again, another signing from Villa. Phenomenal signing. Yeah, again, he's only what, 31, 32?
Well, he wasn't Villa, he was at Stoke.
Was it?
He went from Villa to Stoke, and then had a season at Stoke, but couldn't get in the team.
This is it. Young lad that I'd not heard of actually, which was Smith.
Corey Smith.
I was not that aware of him.
Yeah,
I hadn't picked up on him. But my word, did that boy control the midfield?
I think he was man of the match for Derby.
Solid, great touch. Very aware of the space around him. For me, you can always tell a good player when they receive the ball and it appears that they've got a lot of time.
He wanted that ball all the game.
Time. Never shied away from it. And he was up against some good players. I mean, they had Dennis Pratt in midfield.
Tillmans.
You're talking Tillmans, a player that's being linked with like £40-odd million moves away from Leicester.
He didn't look like a £40 million
To be fair, he didn't. He looked like he'd just come off the beach, but
probably has.
Bearing in mind, Premier League's not that far away. I think a few of them Leicester players probably need to kick himself into gear. And then we got young lad Wildsmith.
Yeah, Joe Wildsmith, goalkeeper.
Yeah,
from Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, Loach as well.
Yeah, he was from non-league, National League. He was from National League.
Yeah. But you just don't know. I mean, obviously
he'll be a bench one though. He's going to be on the bench. Yeah, Wildsmith. I mean,
Rosenia and the scouting team that he's now put together, his own sort of backroom team. I think obviously you can take a few little punts at that level on a few players that could end up being really, really good players for the club. Like I say, Aduru. Yeah.
Man City under 23s they've signed him from.
Yeah.
He chose Derby. And then he had a lot of interest as well.
This is it. And then you've got a very versatile defender in Roberts on loan from Brighton.
Hayden Roberts, yeah.
And now he played at left back in the game against Leicester. And I tell you, phenomenal.
He is a centre back.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great game. And he was up against, predominantly Inacho was kind of staying outside. And in that first half, the back four with them in there was solid.
And he had Castagna on him second half.
Yeah, and a bit tougher once they made some changes. But I think, do you know what? For any Derby fans that do listen back to this and that, I would be feeling very optimistic and very positive about that going forward.
I can see us going up. I don't know if it'll be automatic or through the player. I don't know, but I can see us doing really well.
I think there would be a reasonable shot at that for sure. Yeah. So that's those signings covered. 11
signings, 3 transfers.
Yeah.
And the actual value of the players is 7.75 million. So you can't fault that at all.
Now, bearing in mind, this is a live episode of this podcast, so we have got the chats running, and I've noticed that a good friend of mine, and Southampton fan, and he actually works as a steward at the ground, he's popped in and said hello and said, "Come on, you Reds." And although we're talking about Derby,
get on the show.
You know, I want you to come on the show, Mr. Cotton, and we can come on and do an episode about Southampton and your expectations for the upcoming season. I think that I'm not sure if he'll be able to tell me, because I think they were signing this young under 21 French striker. I'm not sure if that's gone through yet.
I can't remember his name though.
I can't remember his name, but he's apparently a very good prospect. So.
Lexi's sorry about off. Dog. She's getting involved now.
Lexi's off. She's guarding the room to make sure that no one comes in behind us and creeps up on us.
I think there's a Forest fan come past.
It might be a Forest fan that walked past. Yeah. But yeah, you know, like I say, I mean, we are. There you go. There we go. It's been confirmed there by Si. They've got him.
It's all done.
All done. So there you go. So Southampton have got themselves a striker in. So there we go. That's all good. Right, where are we? So we've covered that.
Now it's your beloved club.
Oh Christ, where do we start? So we're going to talk about the Chelsea.
I'm not getting involved in this.
So obviously, the Chelsea takeover went through a few months back. So we've got Todd Boehly as the new owner. It's a £4.25 million, billion pound even takeover after 19 years of Roman. Listen, we can get into the politics of talking about Roman and all that, but we don't do politics on this. This is a football podcast. Yeah. I'll leave the politics for other people. I've got my views on it. But yeah, you know, but I think there's some positive signs. I know Thomas came out and TT, and he did an interview yesterday, and he weren't particularly happy.
Well, I wouldn't be.
But we got smashed 4-0. Losing Rudiger is massive. Obviously, you know, the takeover's gone through now, and now we're looking at obviously getting new signings. But yeah, I think you got a little bit of look at what we'd lost. Although Christensen was not always a regular starter, I think he was a good player, obviously, for the squad. But losing Rudiger, that's difficult to replace. But I'm very, very happy. I know a lot of people say Koulibaly at 31, you know, why are you signing? But this guy's like, I can promise you, having watched a lot of Italian football and you know, seeing a lot of him playing at Napoli, this guy's solid. He's still very athletic. Like I say, he's only 31. For defenders, you know, it's not that old really. And we've got him on a 5-year deal, and I expect him to be very good. But we're still short. We are still short, and I think we maybe need to sign at least another centre half. It looks like, I don't know, I honestly do not understand how they're doing it, but quite how Barcelona are still able to go out and sign players, being a billion odd in debt, getting Lewandowski, trying to force De Jong out the door to facilitate signing other players. I mean, they're being linked with, you know, Bernardo Silva as well. So they've already got in obviously Lewandowski.
They want one of your players there, don't they? As well,
they want Azpilicueta, so we're going to block that if they because they're interfering. They're obviously they bid now the same as us for Koundé from Seville. So, but they want to pay an instalment, so they'll break it down. It looks like that he's going to choose Barcelona over us anyway. So I'm disappointed in that, because he's been a target for us for about the last 2 years that we've been trying to get it. Our good friend Willie's joined in the chat. So, hello Willie, how you all right, mate? But yeah, I'm disappointed that Koundé's decided. I mean, I kind of get it. You know, staying in Spain, it's less uprooting for his family. So I get that, and obviously he's going to be on a good wage there. God knows how they can afford that. But obviously, because they've interfered with our pursuit of Koundé, we're now apparently going to stop them signing Azpilicueta. Which I feel sorry for him, because he's been a great servant for the club. and he probably deserves to be allowed to have a move. Initially, he would have been on a free, but we enacted a 1-year clause in his contract, so we put another year.
Still gets,
So it meant someone had to pay a fee for him. Weren't going to let him go for free.
Won't be a lot there, will it?
No, they're talking about £7 million, and I don't necessarily think it's obviously a money issue. It's a principle issue that, you know, they've come along at the last minute and tried to interject themselves into getting this player's transfer done that we want. But yeah, again, like I said, I don't understand that. But if we don't get him, other players that we apparently have been linked with would be Kimpembe at PSG, a couple of years older than Koundé, but 26, so still young. Yet again, a big, athletic, very, very good on the ball centre half, kind of similar in the mould of Rudiger, maybe.
Yeah. Oh,
so that
I'd say similar players.
And you know, we've still got Thiago Silva for another year, and we've got young Trevor Chalobah. So and Chalobah, you know, I think he did really well in a testing season. I think he did really, really well. Lexi's trying to nick the biscuits off the table.
Get off my biscuit.
Oh, bless you, Lex. But yeah, no, I think in terms of that, I mean, I'm very happy with the signing of Sterling and Koulibaly. I do think perhaps another midfielder in there who can control games. For me, Kante was a little bit off it.
Is there rumours that he's going?
I've
heard loads of rumours.
I mean, that's been knocking around for a while. I mean, I think Kante would possibly like to go back home to France and maybe PSG. But I think he's such a humble and good lad that I don't think he'd ever be like, you know, I don't think he'd kick up crap to get a move done. So I think, you know, he'd probably be happy to see out his contract. I think he's got like 2 years left or 18 months left on his contract anyway. So whoever, if someone was going to come in, you're talking probably upwards of 50 million.
Oh, yeah.
I would say. You know, especially because having that kind of length on the contract, I do think that would be a possibility. But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. I think we probably need another forward in. I'm a little bit maybe disappointed that he's not going to give. Bearing in mind the season he had at Southampton, that I'd like to see Broja given a bit of a shout. But it looks like West Ham might get a deal done for that this week, possibly. I'm not sure. And there's a couple of other clubs that are in for him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that one. Well, there you go. You know, Simon just said that, you know, I think you guys really liked him down at Southampton last year. He made a good impression. And he scored some important goals for Southampton last year. And bearing in mind that you know you'd lost the likes of Ings. You know,
oh yeah. So where's he gone now?
He was at Villa, wasn't he? He went to Villa.
Oh, is he still there?
Yeah.
I thought. Oh no, I'm thinking Shane Long, aren't I?
Oh, Shane Long's gone as well.
Yeah.
Shane Long's gone to Reading.
Good sign. Yeah, he's gone back to his
club. So I think, you know, if we're just to drift a little bit away there, I do think Southampton probably need to get some goals in, and maybe a little bit more, you know, in terms of experience for this young French lad that's coming for them. But yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is, you know, the new owners at Chelsea wanted to make a statement signing, and obviously they've done that with Sterling. Yeah. I love Sterling. I think he's an absolute class player. I've always supported him. Always thought he's done brilliantly for England. You know, the guy's won 4 Premier Leagues. I think it's like 9 trophies in total that he's won at Manchester City.
Yeah, he works his socks off. That's
you know,
sure.
I think his end product can sometimes be a little bit in and out. But I think he's also one of those players that likes to feel loved. And I think maybe he weren't quite feeling enough love from Pep. Which is why he decided to go, and I'm absolutely delighted. And obviously, you know, he's originally from, you know, West London, so you know, he started off at QPR before he went as a 16-year-old to 16-year-old to Liverpool. So for him, it's kind of like, I think it's like he feels like he's coming home.
Come back home, yeah.
So I think that's a cracking signing. There's a couple of players that I really would like to see. I'd like to see Conor Gallagher given a shot.
I just think he'll do, because he's been struggling in pre-season.
No, he's done really well. He's done really well in midfield in the games.
He did well at Palace, didn't he?
And he had a phenomenal season last year with Palace. And I honestly think that he's a player that we really should. To be honest, I'd give Broja a shot in the team as well, because, like I say, done well at that. And trouble is, I don't want us to fall into this history that we've had, particularly under Roman, where we had some really, really great young players and we've let them go too early and then they've gone on to do unbelievable things. And I'm talking about Kevin De Bruyne. You know, we brought in Kevin.
I still can't believe that.
You brought in Kevin De Bruyne. Mourinho was a manager at the time. He never really got a shot. And look, you know, goes off to Wolfsburg, does amazing for them, and obviously ends up at City. And look what he's done with City. Look what he's done with Belgium. Phenomenal player. And you can keep going with it. I mean, Salah, never really given a shot. And there's others. There's other players that. So I think we need to learn that lesson.
Here's one: Ross Barkley.
I think it's time.
Do you think he will stay or will
no?
go?
I think it's time for Ross to move on. I really do. I feel sorry for. I like Ross as a player, but he's not consistent enough. And you know, he is a good player. He's good on the ball. Perhaps he would maybe find a better home at maybe a club just outside, sort of like the top 10 of the Premier League that maybe have aspirations of.
What about him
dropping
the league?
I think he's too good. I think he's too good for the Championship. I do. I think he is too. There was a few others that maybe probably could do with moving on, but it's a big season for us. I think the trouble is that if you look at what Liverpool have done, and we don't really know how Nunez is going to go. It's a big punt Liverpool have taken on Nunez at 85 million. You don't really understand.
But he's young though. He's not.
He's young.
What, 24?
And
23?
Yeah.
I think he's 24,
24,
yeah.
25.
I know, yeah.
And it's a lot of money on a guy that's only really had 18 months as at the level that he's playing at, albeit playing in the Portuguese league. So it's a big bit of a punt, big risk, obviously, because, let Mane go.
Well, so Premier League's a lot faster.
But this is the problem. Any team that's, whether you're Spurs, whether you're Chelsea, whether you're Arsenal, it's all about now bridging that gap between us and Manchester City and Liverpool. And Manchester City obviously moved really early and went out and got Haaland, which I just,
what a signing!
I can't wait to see how this Golden Boot, race goes with these guys in the Premier League. Because when you're talking Haaland, Nunez, Salah, and maybe a couple of Harry Kane, Son, this is going to be a hell of a season.
Speaking of Kane,
well, that's another one. I mean, there was a few little snippets and rumours about Munich potentially looking at Kane as a replacement for Lewandowski. I don't think there's any ground in that at all.
That way.
We just had another little hello in the chat stream on our TikTok chat stream, which is our good friend Mr. Reed, who's guested on the show talking about United. Well, I suppose we better talk a little bit about that because obviously they've got a new manager in. They signed a few players. I think it's huge.
Haven't lost yet, I don't think.
They've been. Well, no, they drew with.
But it's not a loss.
Yeah, they drew with. I think was it
West Ham, wasn't it?
Yeah,
West Ham.
I think it was West Ham or Villa. I can't remember. Mr. Reed might be able to tell us. But
come on, Mr. Reed, tell us. For anyone that is watching on YouTube, by the way, we are live on TikTok as well. So anyone on TikTok, we are live on YouTube.
Yeah, we are multi vodding. Yeah, but yeah, no, it was Villa. Yeah,
Villa, yeah.
But I think that's.
I knew it was Claret.
I think that's unbeaten in the pre-season games now for United, and there has been a definite change in the playing philosophy already. That you can definitely see that the ball's been on the deck a lot more, and there's a massive focus on player movement, passing and movement, which is similar, maybe in a similar kind of way to how Tuchel wants us to play as well, and that fast.
Ping, back,
get the ball moving quick and really go after teams, and try and kill them off. I think the problems with United obviously are not necessarily going to be in forward areas. I think they've got the Ronaldo issue to resolve.
Yeah.
But I think even without Ronaldo, I think they've got more than enough in there. Martial's obviously come back. Rashford's come back. They both look like they're chomping at the bit to really get involved with it.
They're up for it, definitely.
A lot of people said that Martial's not Ten Hag's kind of striker, but I tend to disagree. I think he's been a little bit. I don't know. I think he's been a little bit mistreated at United for me. When he came in, he kind of sort of shoved out to the left. Same with Rashford, really. Sort of pushed out to the left wing a little bit when both of them clearly want to play through the middle. So I don't really get the treatment of him and then sending him off on loan. Obviously, Seville, for one reason or another, maybe they couldn't afford to take him permanently, or whether they didn't want to. But I don't know.
Probably didn't want to.
Yeah,
To
but
be fair.
there's a few teams. It's going to be interesting to see how they do. And you know, to keep on a little bit of a Chelsea theme, I worry for Frank at Everton.
Yeah, and speaking of when we watched on Saturday, Leicester.
Yeah,
I don't think they are going to do great.
No, and I think that they're going to have massive problems. I mean, they really struggled against Leicester. The Daka and Iniacho really struggled against a 37-year-old Curtis Davis and 32-year-old James Chester.
Yeah.
And if that's what your main replacements are at the moment, anyway, for Vardy, because Vardy can't play every game, I would be a bit worried about that.
I would, but I'd be wanting to sign somebody at least.
Yeah, Vestergaard looked a bit shaky.
Soyuncu was looked injured at the beginning. He had to
He
have
painkillers at the beginning. He was constantly grabbing at his hamstring.
Because obviously we were right above. Yeah. We were literally right on the Leicester players at the beginning.
Yeah, and watching them doing the warm up and whatnot. I would be very worried if I was Leicester. And I felt there was a little bit with Leicester that Rodgers could have possibly gone towards the end of the season because they weren't having it great. And I know they had a lot of injuries, a hell of a lot of injuries, losing Fofana for them.
Lost Vardy for most of it, didn't they?
Yeah, Vardy didn't play a great deal. Maddison was out for quite a while. You know, when you've got the likes of Daniel Marte having to play at the back, as he did, you know, they played three. I mean, obviously, Rodgers wasn't there. Rodgers was at the Preston game. They do, and I think it's like Andy's just said in the chat there. Hello, Liam, by the way. But it's like Andy's just said. They do need players, and I think that they will really struggle to cling on to a top 10 place.
Honestly, and they struggled, mate. They didn't look comfortable at all against the Derby side that's in League One that have just gelled, literally got together. Like we mentioned at the start earlier on, they've just gelled together.
Yeah.
Probably a couple of weeks, 3 weeks they've been, and it's honestly Leicester looked like they were struggling. Derby equalised,
yeah,
and then
really good
he
goal.
made change. I don't know who it was that was actually managing. Was it because Rodgers was at Preston?
I think Colo was kind of in charge by the looks of it.
Yeah, well, there was another guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
blonde hair,
the other coaches.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean they had, like I said, they had Vestergaard and Soyuncu at the back. His name just gone out of my head now. The young left back.
Oh, Thomas.
Yeah, Luke Thomas at left back, and they were playing Daniel Marte. Well, they had wing backs, so like Castagna. They had the Marte, Soyuncu, and Vestergaard, who looked shocking. Good on the ball, passing out from the back, but defensively, I've seen Milk turn faster.
And that young keeper they had as well.
The young guy in goal. So obviously they've got Casper to come in, so they're solid there. But then Casper's like 35, 36 now. You're supposed to drink that, not wear it.
And I'm watching YouTube, didn't see that.
But yeah, no, I think for a few teams, then listen, you can't. I think you've got to look at obviously Newcastle. I think they've spent pretty well, to be honest. So I wouldn't. I've tipped Newcastle for.
You said top 6.
I've said top 6. I think I think that they've signed well. If they can get a forward in, they want another winger and then another striker in to support Callum Wilson or replace Callum Wilson, or to give him that competition. A fully fit Callum Wilson with wingers, with and then with St. Maximum kind of in a free role in a 10 behind the forward line. I think Newcastle, and they've signed Sven Botman in defence. So you're now going to have Botman and Dan Burn at the back. Target has obviously signed on a permanent from Villa, and then they've got Kieran.
I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, cracking sign. I think it was a brilliant signing bringing him on loan, and then of course you've got Trippier at right back. So and of course they've signed Nick Pope as well, and that's a really good signing. I'm liking the look of that. I think Newcastle have a decent shout. And just to touch on Arsenal as well, I think Arsenal have made some really, really clever signings. Gabriel Jesus is already off to a flyer. already. Arsenal look really good. Whether or not they would have be consistent enough with the rest of the team that they've got to push it over a full season, so maybe have a real dig at the top four, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I think if I was going to pick my top four now, I think Man City win it, because I think that with what they've already got, even though they've lost a few, with what they've already got and with Haaland's goals, I really think it's difficult to look beyond them.
Oh yeah.
Núñez, you don't really know, but then even if Núñez don't really hit the ground running, so to speak, you still got you still got Salah, you still got Diaz, and you've still got Jota.
I forgot about you, actually.
So they've still got options in terms of forward areas. So I think it's going to be an interesting season, and so obviously it's going to be a weird season because it's split in two parts. So obviously the season's starting just a little bit earlier, and most teams are pretty much going to be playing.
This dog's a nutter.
Dog's going crazy. She's got an opinion. We were talking about Newcastle. Maybe Lexi's got an opinion. Do you think Newcastle will finish in the top 6?
Tell him.
What do you think?
Tell him.
Yes?
Tell him.
Yes. That's a yes from the dog. So that's it. Listen, go out there, get your bets on, because the dog says that Newcastle are going to finish top 6. You've heard it here first. Fuck Paul the octopus. We got Lexi the sausage dog. I'm telling you. But yeah, here she is. She come up and say hello on the camera.
Say hello, Lex. Just want to lick my face.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. That's pretty much covered that. Has anyone that's in either of the two streams got any questions that they would like to ask us? Feel free to do so. And also, don't forget to get on the socials. Now, I've put together a link tree on the socials. So whether you're on the TikTok channel, the YouTube, the Twitter, Insta, wherever, all of those now have got the link tree. Yeah. So when you can click on the link tree, you can go to any of the audio episodes that are up there and pick whichever platform.
TikTok, it should be on the bio.
Yeah, TikTok's all on the front page. So
YouTube, I will put it in the description on YouTube for you. All the links will be be in there. And I will cut it down into sections on YouTube as well.
That's a difficult question. So Mr. Reed has asked who is going to get relegated. I think
who was it that went up again?
Fulham, Bournemouth. I can't remember the third
Bournemouth
team.
will be one of them.
Where's your phone? It's Fulham and Bournemouth. Who was the other one who came?
Was it not Norwich? Was it?
No, it was. Bugger! Who played the playoff final?
Forest.
How can you
How
forget
can I
that?
not forget that?
You fucking Derby fan, and he's forgetting Forest. Yeah, so
because they're not in the league now. See, that's what
do you know what? It's going to be. It's going to be an interesting one because Forest have actually gone out and spent.
Mr. Reed said it.
Forest have actually gone out and spent a fair bit of money, and I know they've been ridiculed a little bit with the Lingard deal, but I still think Lingard's got a fair bit to offer if his head's in it. But other than that, they've actually gone out and I think they've signed 7 players so far. I can't remember the names, but I think they've signed about 7 players so far. Fulham, they should get the Mbabu deal done, which is a solid right back for them. Obviously, they had Nicky Williams on loan from Liverpool last season, but he signed to Forest, so they needed a replacement for that. So I don't know, and I think Everton are gonna get pulled into. I honestly do think Everton are gonna get pulled into this scrap. I think Fulham might just have enough. They might just have enough to stay up. The rest, do you know what? It's so difficult. Now I know this might upset, and he's just rejoined the chat.
Yeah, Brighton. Yeah,
I think I'm not. Yeah, I think Everton might be in a bit of scrap because they're going to need to replace Richarlison's goals. That's a given. I think Bournemouth will go. I do. I don't think they're going to have enough to stay up at all.
I agree, and Everton. I think they will only just scrape survival.
Yeah.
Personally,
I do think unless they get goals into the team, I think Southampton could have a struggle, and I do think that it is possibly the season that Ralph Hasenhüttl goes. Whether that be that he decides to walk, or whether the board decide that he's taken the club as far as he can. But if you don't invest in players, then you're going to struggle, and because a lot of teams in the Premier League do invest. I think the likes of Palace and all that, I think they're going to have another good season. I think Palace will be clear, more than clear of that. So, yeah, I don't know. They are. I mean, it's like, Simon's just said in the chat there, Southampton are signing players, and if they get goals and if they can retain the likes of Ward-Prowse, I think they'll be fine. It is such a hard call. I tell you what, if you can have a bet on and get it right on who gets relegated, you could earn yourself a few quid. I do think there's going to be a fairly big team, one of them that does have a struggle, and gets pulled into a relegation battle. Dog's digging the bed. I don't know why.
We're talking about relegation.
We're talking about relegation. She's trying to dig her way out of the league.
I think Lampard sack 6 months gone.
I don't. Maybe even quicker than that.
I'm going to say it now. Lampard.
If they start, I think he's possibly the first one to go. I think he goes. I think Frank could possibly go within the first 5-6 games of the season. I really do, because I think they've not been great in pre-season. Like I say, they've lost Richarlison. They're now really going to be so reliant on Calvert-Lewin getting goals. Yeah, I think Everton could be in a bit of trouble.
I think they will. I have a feeling they will.
If you pull up the Prem table,
right, we've got.
You just click tables there.
Yeah.
And it should.
It's bringing the bloody.
That's right. Just type in Prem. There you go, Premier League, and we can go through these there. Potentially, for me, Brentford might get in a bit of bother. They relied a lot on Tony's goals last year. Second season is always very difficult. Leeds
are going to struggle.
But then they've signed some good players out of the German league. So Jesse Marsh has signed players he knows and good players, people like Tyler Adams and all that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you look at it. I like what Bruno Lage has done, but they're letting Fabio. I think Fabio Silva's gone out on loan.
He's gone out on loan.
I think he's gone to Anderlecht. I think it was.
Yeah, Vincent Kompany's team, isn't it?
No, Vincent Kompany's now
gone.
Kompany's now Burnley manager.
Oh, it's a Burnley, isn't it?
He's gone to Burnley, yeah.
Ah.
But yeah, no, I think if we've got the table up here, so let's have a quick look through each team. Bournemouth need to get one or two strikers in, forward players. You will not survive in the Premier League unless you score goals. And with what they've got, people like Dom Solanke and all that, I don't think they're going to cut it in the Premier League. Arsenal, I think they'll have a real tilt at top four. I think
with Jesus signing.
Yeah, I just think that with what I think they're all still playing a little bit of catch up on us, on Chelsea, and with what Tottenham have done. Tottenham have done great business. I can tell you that now. Brighton, for all what they look like, and you would think on paper with what they have that they should struggle, he just keeps doing a good job. He keeps doing a good job, and I'm surprised.
Look how they survived
I'm surprised that other clubs haven't come in for him at Brighton. I really do, the manager. So there's that, and I'll say Palace under Vieira, although they actually finished on a similar points total to what they did under Hodgson in the previous season. The style of football was so much better, and they've brought in Luke Plange,
from Derby,
and Eboué.
Malcolm
Eboué. Yeah, so they brought them two in from Derby. Very good, very very good young players, and they will push that first team squad hard for places in the team. They really will. They're very very good young players. So I'd expect Palace to sort of finish either just outside the top half of the table, or potentially maybe eighth or ninth maybe. So really looking at it and looking at what's lower down the table, you bring up the bottom there. What we got here? Do you know?
I think Forest going to have a right go.
I think Forest have a go, and I think potentially. So, what we're going to do? We're going to make a decision. You pick your three. You think it's going to go, and I'll pick my three, and then we'll see what mugs we look like at the end of the season.
I'm going to go Leeds, Wolves, Everton.
Leeds, Wolves, Everton. Yeah. So you think all three?
If
teams,
Everton don't sign players,
you think all three teams that are coming up are going to stay up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great shout. All right.
Forest, definitely. The dog don't agree. The dog doesn't agree. Stop it, you.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, I'm gonna go Bournemouth, Brentford, Everton.
Give me the ball. Right, in the chat on TikTok, what's your three teams? This dog's driving me insane. I think Forest are definitely going to be 12th, 13th. I think they will stay up. Wolves may struggle. That's the reason why I said Wolves down. I don't know. I'm saying that, Southampton.
There we go. Sorry, I've just had to confiscate the ball from the dog for a minute. But yeah,
we can cut that bit.
no, we'll leave it in. Listen, it's a live broadcast, and we're not in a professional studio, so
no, we're in a house.
You can actually see me taking the ball for dog. Sorry, Lex. Sorry, mate.
I said Leeds, but Leeds because they struggled last season.
Yeah. Well, you know,
to be honest, they've signed many people.
They haven't, but they've lost Rafinha, but they have signed. I can't remember his name, but they have signed a young winger out of the Bundesliga. So, and if they can get Bamford back, and scoring, if they can get him back and scoring, then I think Leeds might be all right. I think they might be all right.
It's hard to say.
Trouble is, this is the thing, is that the Premier League is a really strong league.
We'll do this again halfway through the season. We'll put our other predictions in. We'll go back and we'll look at what we've said now, and then
and then obviously, I think if we do like a How Stupid We Look episode just before the World Cup. So obviously the last games in the Premier League before the World Cup are on the weekend of the 15th.
Leeds Bournemouth.
Oh, Mr. Reid has gone Everton, Leeds, Bournemouth. Okay.
I think Bournemouth will survive. I think they will.
I don't think they've got enough goals.
Don't you reckon?
No, I don't think they have. You know, and I think defensively they might be quite tight. Well, here's another question for those that are watching. Who do you guys think that are going to be the first manager to get sacked? Personally, and don't get me wrong, this, and people might think I'm crazy with this. Scotty Parker, Steve Cooper, Frank Lampard. So if
all three of them.
I think that one of those will go. I think because it's impossible for everyone. It's impossible for everyone to start well and everyone to start strong, because teams have to lose. You can't have winners without losers.
Yeah.
So, and I think with those, even with Forest, this is the first time they've been back up in the top flight for a long time. And even though Steve Cooper's done phenomenally well, done really, really, really good as you know, since he came in from Swansea, I still think that if they start poorly after maybe 6 or 7 games, that the Forest owners, because they're not shy of sacking people, as we know.
Lampard's first.
I really feel for Frank, and of course Rooney is out in America, just taking over as DC United. So that contract's not going to cost a lot of money to buy him out of.
Oh, right.
And I think if he got offered the Everton job for a second time, I think he has to take it. But Frank could get it around, could get 1 or 2 players in the door, and they may be okay. I don't know. Anyway, listen, let's go through these socials again to make sure everyone's at the socials before we bring this finale to a finish. So we'll make sure you've got all the details possible. Links obviously in the live chat there. But now listen. So if you go on any of the social platforms we got, be it TikTok, be it Insta or YouTube, in the bio you'll have the link tree. Now in that link tree, you've got access to, like I say, we're on about 32 different listening apps if you want to listen to the audio versions of the pods. And gradually, bit by bit, we're going to get all the previous episodes up onto the YouTube channel, so people can listen to them there as well. But you want to get in contact with the show on a personal level with us directly and ask us questions. Quickest way to do that is via the email, which is talkfootballpdc@gmail.com. And if you're interested in coming on the show as a guest, and we're going to have Andy Reid on, I'd love to get Mr. Cotton on, talk about Southampton. I'd love to get people from clubs outside the Premier League as well, because I love grassroots football. Obviously following Derby as much as I have we've had this last couple of years. I've always liked following teams outside the Premier League. Anyway, I did. I have done with Swansea, etc. and whatnot. And so yeah, that's it. Get in contact with the show because we want to get more people. I promise you, I'm not going to leave it as long this time to get new episodes up. So we are going to be doing little special episodes as well on things like transfers and all that. Yeah, this is me. For those on TikTok having a look there, we'll shout out to the camera for the YouTube viewers as well. That was me at the Derby game. There we go, inside the stadium, advertising the pod, blowing it out a bit, but there we go. You get the idea. Yeah. But if you have a look on the socials, you'll see all those up there anyway. But yeah, get in contact with the show. This has been our first live episode of the pod, so it's something that we've been wanting to look at doing for a long time. We've got it going, and we've got one done. Like I say, there will be an audio, slightly shortened down audio version of this episode, including the dog and the ball.
Yes. Pain in the backside.
Yeah. There we go. So we really appreciate everyone joining in, and over this past second season, it's been a really enjoyable season, and we've covered a lot of topics. So this is the like I say, the final episode of season 2, episode 8, and there's going to be some like short sort of 10-15 minute bonus episodes coming up towards the start of the new seasons. So the one of them is going to be coming up really soon, because obviously the Championship EFL seasons, they all start within the next weekend.
Yeah, it does.
So that's it. So football is back next weekend. So there's going to be plenty to talk about. Transfer window is still open for about another 40 odd days. So we're going to be covering obviously transfers on a week by week sort of basis as they come up, and just give you a little short thoughts on what we think about those particular transfers, what they mean to the clubs that those players are signing for. And no doubt you'll hear me moaning about Barcelona again.
Yeah, for anyone wanting to listen to this, if you look on the YouTube channel and look back through this stream towards the end of the stream, I've put the where you can listen, like Spotify, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, all that is up on screen as we speak. Well, so he says, and it's not happening.
But yeah, well, all the links are there. Mainly, obviously, the links are there up on the link tree anyway, and you can find obviously, all you got to do is type in Talk Football Podcast on any of the of your regular social platforms, and you will find us. But yeah, like I say, email the show if you want to come on, and we will catch you on the next episodes.
Yes, I'll catch you soon, guys.
There we go. All right, so from me, Hodgie.
And me, Adj.
Thank you very much for joining us on this Season 2 finale, and we will catch you very soon on the next episode. Couple of bonus episodes, and then we'll be banging straight into Season 3. Looking forward to the upcoming season, and then pushing on towards the World Cup. Thank you very much for joining us on the Talk Football Pod.